What's up, fam? Agent O here, and I haven't done a superhero movie review in a very, very long time, but I saw a bunch of reviews for the Batman Superman Dawn of Justice movie, and I I decided since I just saw the movie, I wanted to weigh in with my thoughts also on the film, and I just want to start off this review by saying that people who watch reviews, you really need to not let yourself be told what to think by watching a lot of these reviews. Because a lot of these reviewers out here, they don't really they don't look at movies objectively. It's very a lot of these guys are very biased, whether they realize it or not. And I don't think you should take somebody's bias as gospel truth, because a lot of these guys will purport their reviews as if they're saying what they're saying is the gospel truth or is factual, but it's mainly opinion, and it's mainly just their overall bias. Watch the movie for yourself, and then go look at reviews and check out to see whether the reviews match your point of view or whether they point out things that maybe you didn't notice when you saw the film. Don't even pay attention to my review. Just watch the movie first, then go back and check it out. I've been saying this on practically all my movie review videos because it just doesn't seem like anybody gets it. I always hear people regurgitating stuff that they heard from other reviews, and I'm like, dude, it's not even your own thought. You're just piggybacking off of what somebody else said. That's not, you need to start thinking for yourselves. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. My movie review PSA is done. So I'm just going to get right into this film, and I just want to start off by saying that this film has problems. Some of the things that people were saying that they didn't like about the film are kind of well-founded, although most people just didn't like it and weren't all that constructive about it. I'll tell you the things that I thought in a constructive manner. I'll tell you the things that I thought were wrong with this film that they definitely could have gotten better. But in order to do that, I have to spoil a lot of this movie, so basically the whole movie, in order to talk about all the things that they got wrong. So this movie review will be spoiler filled for anybody listening. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, once again, go see the movie, then come back. But from here on out, it's all spoiler all the time. So before I get into all the shitty things that were apparent in this film, I'm going to talk about the stuff that they got right. And one of those things that they got right was Ben Affleck as Batman. I mean, it seems like nobody ever likes whoever studio Warner Brothers picks as Batman. Nobody liked Michael Keaton, and he did a damn good job. Nobody liked Christian Bale. He did a damn good job. And nobody liked Ben Affleck, and he did a damn good job. I didn't mention George Clooney or Val Kilmer because even if they had done a good job, those movies were so bad that it wouldn't have helped and it wouldn't have saved the films anyway. So I left those two guys out. But Ben Affleck, he's believable both as Bruce Wayne and as Batman. Definitely as Batman. I loved the digitized voice that they used instead of the "where is he?" instead of that voice. The one that they used in this film was just way better. Loved it. Had no problems with it. Had no problems with Bruce Wayne's mindset in the film. It's definitely heavily Dark Knight Returns influenced, because he is a way more ruthless Batman, and I'll get more into that because that kind of fits into the things that I think are wrong with this film. But once again, great performance by Ben Affleck. I'm actually really looking forward to his solo directed, and I think he's even writing the Batman movie that's going to be the sequel that's going to be coming out. So I'll be looking forward to that too. Henry Cavill does a pretty good job as Superman and as Clark Kent. I know he says some dumb shit in real life. I read about some things he said during the promotion tour for Batman versus Superman, and he said some really stupid things, but as an actor, he does a pretty damn good job. He was believable for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I think he did a damn good job. He looks the part. I feel like he acted the part as well. Um, Lois Lane, her name is skipping my head right now. She did pretty well. I don't think the movie really had a whole lot for her to do other than just being Clark's support system and kind of being that, still playing that damsel in distress role, which is unfortunate. But it's Lois Lane. She's not a superhero. She's not a crime fighter. So they really fished hard to find things for her to do, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's one of those things that I just noticed while I was watching the film. Gal Gadot, she surprised me too. I've been saying for the longest I thought she was miscast. Visually, I think she is still miscast. I just would have loved to have seen Gina Carano as Wonder Woman. She looks like when she was in fighting shape, she looked like Princess Diana, drawn in Adam Hughes style, basically. But what she lacks in acting, Gal Gadot makes up for in her acting. And she was believable as Princess Diana and as Wonder Woman. No real complaints there. I would have liked to have seen more of her in the film. But what you do see is pretty good, and it's good setup for her solo film, which is supposed to be coming out, I think maybe later this year or next year, something like that. I think maybe more likely next year. So there is that, and that's fine. Most all the other supporting actors I thought were okay. I forgot who it is that played the senator. I don't have the IMDb facts or whatever, or the casting in front of me, so I'm just going off the top of my head with people. And they all kind of played their roles, to the best of their they made the best of what was given to them, basically. I don't really have anything there to write home about. It's it works. It works for the film, and that's pretty much the things that I liked about the actors so far. As far as the action in the film, of course, I'm an action junkie, and I'm going to be biased because I really like the action in Zack Snyder movies. I know some people don't. It's not their cup of tea. But these are superheroes, and I need to see them doing superheroic things. Superman is practically invulnerable, so watching him getting smacked around and getting knocked through walls and stuff, that's cool. They made sure to cover their bases when it came to the script by making sure they flat out tell the audience, because I guess the audience just didn't get it during Man of Steel. They flat out tell you that the areas that they were fighting in were pretty much evacuated because I think one time they were fighting downtown, and since downtown was mostly businesses, it was closed down for the day. Everybody was pretty much gone from there. Then they were on the island, which is completely uninhabited when they were fighting Doomsday. So all the destruction you saw, nobody died from it because there wasn't really anybody there to get killed. And once again, great use of camera work during the action sequences. I loved all the fast zoom cuts that they did, and the extreme forced perspective zooms whenever somebody was getting knocked back or skidding across the ground or jumping from one area to the other or flying. There's just a lot of camera movement, and it really helped with the action. I feel a lot of side to side movement with the camera, and I think it worked pretty well. Once again, Zack Snyder does good action for superhero films. I think it gets better each time he does one. I did see a few action beats kind of retreaded on from Man of Steel in Batman versus Superman, but it wasn't overdone, and you're not seeing it for very long before you're watching something else happening on screen. I will say though that the hype that Zack Snyder and Cavill and Ben Affleck built up about Wonder Woman having the best fights in the movie is just that. It's just hype. I still think Batman had the best fight in the film when he was fighting all those bad guys, those contract killers or whatever. You saw most of it in the trailer, and it's still a longer scene. You didn't see everything. The whole fight wasn't in the trailer, but they really should have held off on showing any of that fight as much as of the fight as they did in the trailers. I mean, what a way to blow your wad early on that. I think it would have had way more impact had you not seen hardly any, if at all, until you saw the movie. Because the stuff that they left out was still very fun, and it was still gave you that ooh and ah moments and stuff like that. So it would have been kind of cool to have this really huge ooh ah moment when Batman is fighting all those dudes, because he brought it to him. And just the way they had Batman moving in the film, I mean, he was moving so fast at times, and when he was dodging gunfire and stuff. So it was kind of funny in the scene when he's telling Alfred how he's gotten slow in his old age. It's like, wow, I would really hate to see him in action when he was in his prime, because I mean, he was all over the place, not just in that fight scene, but in a couple earlier scenes when he was extracting information from a bad guy or whatever. I remember reading in one review somebody saying how the movie was too dark and they couldn't really see everything that was going on. I didn't have that problem when I saw it. I could see everything, and the film is dark at times, but it wasn't so dark that you couldn't make out shapes and movement and stuff. I think that was all done. I think that was all lighted the way it should be. If you're trying to shoot a dark scene and actually make it feel like it's actually dark, instead of some of the pseudo dark scenes that we see in movies where there's lighting that technically you really shouldn't be able to see if it's nighttime outside, but it's whatever because it's a movie and you kind of just let it go. It's stylized in such a way that it you just kind of go with it without thinking about it too much. So I don't know what that reviewer was complaining about. I mean, since they basically gave the excuse about how there weren't a whole lot of civilians in the area while they were fighting, people shouldn't have been clamoring about the death toll and Superman getting knocked around in buildings. I do like some of the consistency, that subtle consistency, especially during the flashback when Bruce Wayne is speeding through the city, speeding through Metropolis, trying to get to the Wayne Towers division that was over there in Metropolis. It was really a nice point of view to see what all the people on the ground were going through while Superman was fighting Zod, and you had the Kryptonian ships and stuff like that crashing through the buildings and stuff. Just really nice overhead shots and nice point of view shots from the low angle shots from when Bruce Wayne was driving through the city in the Jeep. And I really dug that. There was even a really consistent shot when he's watching from the ground. He's looking up at the building, and you're seeing when Zod shoots down with his I-beams and then shoots up with the I-beams, and it's going all throughout the building. If you compare the shots from the Man of Steel movie, where the camera's inside of the building and he's aiming down, and then you see him aim up with the I-beams, it actually matches. Both shots match up, and I thought that was a really nice attention to detail. I think that's something that a lot of people did not catch when they watched the film. I should have a GIF of it in my review for you to see what I'm talking about. Another thing I did like about the movie was the very beginning of the movie, and I know a lot of people complained about having to see Bruce Wayne's origin as Batman again with his parents getting shot and stuff. But I think Snyder shot it very, very well. I think it was shot and edited pretty nicely. he's falling. You see Bruce Wayne as a kid, and he's running through the forest behind Wayne Manor as they were bringing his parents to the little crypt that they have on the family like cemetery, and he's running, and in the whole thing of how his parents died is replaying, and then when he falls into that cave that was boarded up, as he's falling, you're seeing his parents getting shot, and you're seeing the pearls. The pearl thing was a little heavy-handed because somehow the assailant's gun managed to get tangled up in her necklace, and as he pulled the trigger, it snapped the necklace. I was like, yeah, you're kind of reaching with the way it all kind of got entangled into the gun, but I get what you were trying to do. And had we not seen this scene play out so many times in Batman movies and Batman animated movies and shows and stuff, then this scene would have been really, really good, but we've seen it so much that it loses its impact because of the amount of times we've seen it. So it's unfortunate because it's, like I said, it's nicely shot, and I did rather enjoy it, and it's easy to tell without them having to really come out and say it that the whole thing was a dream sequence. I mean, as soon as you see the red eyes of all the bats in the shadows, and then they start flying out towards him, like you could tell he was in a dream. And then once the bats are swirling around him and he starts raising up off the ground, it's like, I heard some people say, what the fuck, like what's going on? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, you fucking idiots, it's a fucking dream. The only dream sequence I didn't like was the Desert Punk Batman dream sequence, which was supposed to be a premonition for the upcoming Dark Side, turning the Earth into apocalypse sort of thing. I just didn't care for that scene at all, that dream sequence. I didn't care for the parademons that looked like fucking locusts. Oh, by the way, I should say we're getting into the stuff that I just didn't care for, the problems with the film. Since I'm already started talking about it, I may as well just keep on going with the problems. And plus, I think I was pretty much done with all the good stuff that I saw in the film. But back to the parademons, like I said, they look like locusts, like mutant locusts or something, and the whole sequence just looked bad. That looked like, I swear, that sequence looked like some bullshit David Goyer came up with, and they just kind of let him run with it. I'm like, that feels like David Goyer 100%, and I can't stand David Goyer. I've always said he's a hack writer. He's the kind of person you need to keep on a leash, because he has some good ideas, but then he kind of takes them to the extreme. You gotta yoke that leash to kind of yoke him back into control or whatever. And that's how. And I swear that Desert Punk Batman sequence is all Goyer. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. The other dream sequence between Superman and Pa Kent, I thought was pretty nice. I have absolutely no complaints. It didn't run very long, and it just was done pretty well. The way they handled the teasers for the other characters that are going to be in the Justice League, Aquaman, Flash, Wonder Woman, obviously, and Cyborg. They're all basically cameos except for Wonder Woman, but the other three are just straight up cameos, and you get to see just enough to know what they're gonna look like in the film. You actually see a lot more of Flash because he shows up in the Desert Punk Batman dream sequence, because he's trying to warn Bruce, and the way they handled that teasing the upcoming movies, I think was just not done very well. They just kind of felt kind of jammed in to the movie, and it broke up the flow of the film. I felt, a lot of people weren't happy with the way those types of sequences and scenes were handled in Age of Ultron, but I think Joss Whedon actually handled it better than Zack Snyder did. It felt like it fit better in Age of Ultron than it does in Batman vs. Superman. One other thing I also wanted to mention is that I think the rumor about Joker being Jason Todd or Dick Grayson. I think he's going to be Jason Todd. It pretty much gets confirmed in this film. Bruce Wayne is having a conversation with Alfred, and they talk about people who have become heroes, and basically it's kind of like a little nod to Nolan, because Nolan had that quote in the Nolan Bat movies about how you live long enough to you either remain a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Bruce Wayne basically says a line about how how many people have we've seen that are heroes and how many people have basically turned into villains. And I think that was a direct nod towards the Jared Leto Joker, who's gonna be who's I think it's Jason Todd turned Joker. So I really don't like that move and that idea with how they're doing that with the Joker. I think it's kind of dumb, but whatever. I don't care for it. I don't think very many other people do, but I guess they're going with it anyway. The editing was a really big problem for me in this film, and I think it was a problem for other people too. Even though they didn't come out and talk about the editing, but it felt jarring at times. Like things would jump, and like 1 minute you're watching one thing, and then the next minute, and then the very next cut, Batman's already in his Iron Bat suit, ready to fight Superman, and I'm like, whoa, how did we get to that already? Like, we're already there. And I'm wondering if the way this movie was edited, I'm wondering if the edits were done that way because they were cutting out stuff that's supposed to be in that ultimate director's cut rated R edition that's supposed to come out at some point, on Blu-ray and all that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why the movie was edited the way it was, because of all that footage that they cut out of the film. Because it's already a 3-hour film, and even though not all of it felt like 3 hours, I think the pacing got a little slow during the scene where Batman is trying to steal information from Lex Luthor. I actually fell asleep during that part because I saw this movie really late, but that part of the film just slowed down for me, and I just started to nod off. But then I was awake for the rest of the film, because the rest of the film, the pacing felt a bit better, even though the editing just wasn't as tight as it could have been. It just didn't have a good flow to it, basically, and and that was a real problem for me in that film. For the film, Jesse Eisenberg, I didn't talk about him, about the actors that I liked in the film, because I didn't like his portrayal as Lex Luthor. I know he's supposed to be the son of Daddy Lex, but I just didn't like it. He didn't come off as that powerful, very assured of himself, executive, CEO type, that's super smart, like I'm used to seeing Lex Luthor in the comics and in the Justice League Unlimited cartoons and in Young Justice. I mean, to me, those are like some of the best renditions of Lex Luthor that we've gotten so far. And Jesse Eisenberg just doesn't do it for me. He should have been like the Riddler or something. I think that looks more like his kind of role. He was trying to play it like this eccentric, super smart, eccentric, kind of crazy, because they always say there's that thin line between genius and insanity, and I think he really was trying to play that role and trying to be the personification of that saying, and it just didn't work for me. He was just annoying to me. I didn't understand how they don't really do a good job of explaining how he knows the things he knows. They kind of just imply it, because I'm wondering how at the end of the film he talks about how he's talking to Batman about how everyone out in space now knows, referring mainly to Apocalypse and to Darkseid, that their god has fallen. Because at the end, Superman dies, quote unquote dies. He goes into his super coma, kind of like how Doomsday, how the same thing that happened to him in the Doomsday story arc in the comics. They basically do it in the movies. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But anyway, he talks about how the god has fallen, and now they know, so now they can come and I guess basically come to Earth or whatever, which I don't understand what his motivation was at all for why he did what he did. I guess he has daddy issues, but that still doesn't answer like at all why he made the moves that he made and why he was playing Superman and Batman against each other. None of that shit made sense to me. You know, they even don't really do a good job of telling you that he learned all this stuff through the ship that Superman, through the Kryptonian ship that was left from the first movie, from Man of Steel. You know, they don't, you know, they tell you he's getting all that info, but they never tell you what kind of info he got. And so when he's revealing all this stuff that he knows to Batman, you just have to assume that that's how he got the info, because they really just didn't do a good job of tying those loose ends together for the viewer to immediately grasp and understand. So I can understand why people felt the plot could be a little convoluted. You just really had to pay attention, and you had to remember things that happened in the film, because some stuff would come into play later on, and it'd be so late and you'd seen so much in between, you would forget, because I had almost forgotten about it until I sat down and was just really trying to rack my brain as to like why Lex knows all this stuff. But yeah, he was probably the most disappointing thing about that film. Was Jesse Eisenberg. They really miscast there. And Doomsday, who is basically Red Hulk. And if you don't know who Red Hulk is, go on Comic Vine or Wikipedia and look up Red Hulk and look up what his powers do, because that's basically Doomsday. In the comics, Doomsday was just really powerful and really, really strong and pretty much invulnerable. And in the movie, he's basically doing what Red Hulk does, which was pretty lame. Fight was fun to watch, and it was a spectacle, but it was pretty lame that was his power set. Because when he executes his like energy discharge, I was like, whoa, when was he able to do that in the comics or whatever? You know, they were just adding in shit for the sake of it, which fine, whatever. Yeah, I was not feeling Doomsday, the design either. I thought the design, he looked like the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles retarded brother that nobody talks about because they keep him down in the sewer below the sewer so that nobody has to see him because he's so fucking hideous. He's just an ugly design. Even after he goes through his bone metamorphosis thing, he's still ugly as sin. There's in the fight between Superman and Batman, as much as they hyped that up throughout the trailers and all that stuff that you saw, it kind of really wasn't that great. It was just okay. It was just a whole lot of them throwing each other around. You know, I thought Batman uses a gun a lot in this movie, and you know, once again, it's supposed to be Dark Knight Returns Batman. So even though it was excessive, the gun use was excessive in the film. I understand why they did it. I think they could have, I don't know, maybe they should have toned that down. I would have liked to have seen him throwing his batarangs up around him and using some of his other gadgets a bit more. You know, Batman in Dark Knight Returns, Batman killed. Like, he killed, I think he shot a guy in the head or something like that. It's been years since I've read that book or that series. So, read the issues. So, I can't remember everything about it, but I know in the story he used a gun, and I'm pretty sure he shot somebody. But holy crap, this movie, Batman gives negative fucks. He doesn't give zero fucks, because they're in the negative. He gives negative fucks in this movie. I'm going to see the movie again tomorrow with Strident, and I'm going to do a kill count for Batman because he does a lot of killing. He kills some folks up. Some bad guys get got by Batman. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to update it. I'm going to update this review with a kill count because I'm pretty sure he killed close to 10 people, if not more, in the movie. And that's my other gripe, not necessarily with the film, but with reviewers that review these movies. I don't know how many people who reviewed Man of Steel got so uptight and got their super panties in a bunch because Superman killed Zod by snapping his neck, which he really didn't have any choice because Zod was just going to keep killing people, and he was going to keep killing until everybody on Earth was dead. So he had no choice but to put him down. Batman could have just incapacitated some of these people that he killed, but I find it funny that because it's Batman, nobody in their reviews, not one person that I've read so far, pointed out that Batman was just straight up killing people, and Batman also has a strict code of not killing, of no killing. So, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about some of these reviewers and how you people really should not pay attention to what they say and take everything they say with a grain of salt and just go see the movie yourselves. All right, I'm done with that rant. Okay, I'm done with that. So anyway, I feel like I've talked enough about this film. It's got its problems. I wish it was better than what it turned out to be. I mean, as far as like people just blaming Zack Snyder and saying he can't direct and blah blah blah, I don't know if this was all his fault. I don't know if you could say it was all his fault. I know he shoulders a lot of the responsibility, and he has to take credit for all the bad as well. As well as the good. But it's just too bad because this was a missed opportunity for Warner Brothers to really get back on track with their superhero movie franchise. And I'm pretty sure the movie's still going to make a butt ton of money, and they're going to be able to do their other films. Because I know when the movie came out Thursday night, it raked in like 33 mil or something like that. So I think that was both locally and internationally. So they're going to make their money back probably by the time the weekend's over. This opening weekend is over, I should say. So they just need to learn from their mistakes and just do better and not try to do so much. I think that was the other issue with this film. They tried so much. They tried to do too much by having too many superheroes. They try to tie in the upcoming movies, the Justice League and the Wonder Woman film. And they tried to mash together two iconic Batman Superman storylines, Dark Knight Returns and Death of Superman. They tried to lump them all into one movie, and like I said, it just felt like they did too much. So I'm still probably gonna buy this on Blu-ray anyway, just because I really enjoy the action scenes, and to me the action was worth the price of admission. But like I said, that's me. Other people might not be about the action as much as they are about the characters, and I'm waiting for Superman to get to that point. I'm hoping he gets to that point where he's, all life is precious and he wants to save everyone and all that good stuff. But that was kind of my other problem with the film, which before I leave, I want to mention this real quick. The film tries to tackle the same subject matter that Man of Steel had. Can we trust an alien? Can we trust this alien who has the power of a god? Even though throughout the movie you see Superman helping people, and he's helping people. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. If you're in trouble, he comes to help you. He went to Mexico and saved somebody, and it was just happened to be Day of the Dead. So they're all reaching up to touch him, like, oh, if I could touch him, maybe I'll be healed or whatever. He ends up in some place where there's a flood, and he saves that person. He wants to just help. He wants to be that beacon of light, and it's kind of weird that the people in the film, the populace at large, just had to kind of play dumb and pay no mind to all the good things he was doing. It was just, that anti sentiment that was just going on with Superman, and I thought that it was kind of silly because it made more sense. The way it was handled made more sense in the first movie, but not so much in the second movie, because it had been 2 years since Zod had attacked. So he spent all that time rescuing people and helping people. Also, I just wasn't buying Lex being able to fool both Batman and Superman and get them basically under his thumb and manipulate them. I just thought that was really whack, and I don't know. I just wish it had been handled better. This was one really big messed up opportunity, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. I wish they had done a better job, because these superhero movies, I don't want them to get burnt out anytime soon, and I don't want to see a string of bad movies come out and everybody says, oh my God, the genre's dead or whatever. But I'm hoping not Winter Soldier, Civil War turns out to be good. I'm gonna definitely keep in tune for that. And with that, I'm just gonna end this again for the third time. I'm gonna end this review. I'll catch you guys on the next one, hopefully. I'm Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.